Hello, I'm Dan McDermott. Welcome to Google Plus Week, our unofficial look at the world's coolest social network. Most of you are watching to meet our first guest, so we'll get right to it. Craig Newmark was born in 1952 in Morristown, New Jersey. By 1977, Newmark had earned a master's degree in computer science from Case Western Reserve University. In 1976, he began his career at IBM, where he would stay nearly 17 years. Craig later worked as a programmer for financial firms like Charles Schwab and Bank of America. In 1995, while working at Schwab in San Francisco Bay Area, Newmark began an email list to let his friends know about local events. It was literally Craig's List. Within a year, Newmark had moved his list to the internet, where it remains and is now one of the most popular and beloved sites in the world. His biography states that since its founding in 1995, Craigslist has become one of the world's 10 most visited English-language web platforms. Today, there are Craigslist websites virtually everywhere and serving every continent on Earth except Antarctica, so far. Craigslist provides users with mostly free advertising opportunities and is meant to allow people to help each other with basic needs like housing and jobs. It's based on a culture of trust, encouraging participants to play an active role in policing the information that is shared on the site. In March of 2011, Craig launched Craig Connects, his initiative to link up everyone on the planet using social media to bear witness to good efforts and encourage the same behavior in others. Craig Connects seeks to support technology platforms that enhance connectivity, help more people and organizations do good in the world, and improve and ensure media integrity. Craig Connects evolved from Craig's many years of personal involvement in nonprofit organizations and issues he considers to be vital. He currently serves on the board of directors of 3 nonprofits, on the advisory board of 11 others, and provides personal and financial support to dozens more. These organizations are involved in using the internet to help solve social issues, provide for America's returning veterans, drive funding for school projects directly to the classroom, or help government agencies and groups on their innovative initiatives. He is a visionary. He's one of the few people who have made and continue to make a real difference in the world. And tonight, he is our guest. Craig Newmark, thank you, and welcome to Google Plus Week.
Hey, I'm glad to be here.
All right, Craig, we'll be peppering you with questions. We want to learn all about your new project. But first, I want to ask you about Craigslist, the site that has made you literally a household name. When you first started the email list, were you planning on moving it to the web later on?
I had no clue at all. I am not a visionary. I don't think I have any vision, but I had, way back in 95, started something, I committed to it, and I followed through with my commitments.
Did you ever in your wildest dreams expect Craigslist to get so huge?
Never have any wild dreams, and it's still all a surprise to me. It's all very surreal. The deal is to, having committed to something, to just follow through on those commitments.
Craigslist has many competitors, but at least here in the United States, it's still at the top. What do you account for that?
I don't know. I don't think about competition. Our business model is doing well by doing good, and viewed from that lens, well, we figure we just do what we are committed to doing. We do what we're passionate about and just plunge straight ahead.
What's your current role at Craigslist?
My current major one, where I spend time, is that of customer service. I've been doing customer service each and every day for the last 17 years or so, and I have some other responsibilities, like on the board, but what I do is customer service. Frankly, in the last year or so, as I grow useless and enter my sunset years, most of the customer service that I'm doing is handling simple problems, and when it's not real simple, then I just gather enough information and send it to the right part of the team.
Okay, I see you're active here on Google+. What are your thoughts so far on this new social network?
I think it's got a lot of potential. I think it does play a pretty important role, and it's required for people who are trying to get stuff done in the world. The idea is that the only way people, particularly individuals, have managed to make something happen has been by talking to people, and social media is the way people can talk with each other in large numbers.
Now, your newest project is Craig Connects. How did that come about?
Well, around a year ago, I had a sense that my government and public service and charity work had gotten out of control. That is, that I was supporting a whole bunch of groups and I had lost track of what's what. So I asked a coworker if she could help me organize what I thought were my relationships with 20 or 30 such groups. After the whole thing was done, turns out I was already working with around 100 groups. So I figured I'd better get my act together with help. That resulted in Craig Connects, and now I'm doing even more.
Your newest project, or the site's just over a year old. What kind of results have you seen so far? What kind of impact are you having?
Well, it's hard to measure quantitatively, but I do work with people in a lot of nonprofits and, government agencies, and they tell me it's really helping them out with substantial effect. Hard to say. I do have at least a couple 100,000 direct connections, and probably in the millions of second-order connections. That seems to be helping out, particularly since there's probably a lot of low and medium level influentials in that network.
Okay. I'm going to turn it over to some other folks. And for folks watching the show live, I'll be checking in, as we all will, on the Justin TV chat, and also the comments and questions posted on my Google Plus profile as it gets shared. And I'll try to get to as many questions for Craig as I can. Let me go first to Sarah Hill. Craig, she is right up your alley. She's a good friend of the show. She's an anchor and reporter at KOMU TV. That's the NBC affiliate in Columbia, Missouri. KOMU is the only NBC station owned by an American university. It is part of the Missouri School of Journalism, where Sarah also teaches. Sarah, I think you have some questions for Craig.
Yeah, I'd like to know specifically about charities. For instance, there's a charity right here in Columbia, Missouri. It's called Pet International. They make hand-cranked carts for people who have to crawl on the ground, essentially, in poor countries because they have no other way to get around. What advice would you give for charities like Pet International, which is also part of an organization we have here on Google Plus called Plusketeers, plusketeers.org. What advice would you give a charity in order to get their message out in this current economic climate and raise money?
Well, what seems to work for philanthropies in general is to create the biggest social media presence they can, focusing on sites like not only Google Plus, but Facebook, Twitter, even Pinterest. Get on there, start to post their stories, reach out to people, and then also to email their supporters with links to current posts, asking their supporters to share those posts with their own networks. So start with your own direct first order networks, and then ask your supporters to promote your posts to their networks, which become your second order networks. Just keep doing it. Keep that presence going. There's other related things, like you do want to have good ratings in the philanthropies whose job it is to rate other charities, particularly GuideStar, Charity Navigator, and GreatNonprofits.org. I work with all three of them, and I have to start looking into, I think it's called GiveWell. Make sure in particular that if you have a philanthropy you're working with, make sure their supporters write good user reviews in GreatNonprofits.org.
Mm-hmm. And how does a charity become affiliated with Craig Connects? What's the process in order to become under your umbrella?
The first step, you go to CraigConnects.org, you check on the Connect link, and let my team and myself know about it. Right now, I'm trying to focus on a few areas where either I have some emotional connection or where the area being addressed is, civilization-wide. For example, my focus, on things like voter protection and the whole area of fact-checking in media.
And veterans as well, correct?
Yeah, that's the emotional connection kind of area. Not only veterans, but also military families and spouses. Sometimes people forget that often when a troop is deployed overseas, they may leave behind a spouse with children who need to keep working and who may have requirements like, well, we want the schools that serve military families to be really good schools to get the resources that they need.
Okay, Sarah,
Thanks.
did you have any other questions for Craig, or should we go to Oleg?
And I know you said you didn't characterize yourself as a visionary, but early on when you were pioneering some of these things, what kind of arrows did you have to take as someone who was doing something that nobody else was doing? Did you have to take any arrows, and what was that like?
Um, Not really. The deal is I had to find, well, better hosting services once in a while because as traffic increased, I had to find hosts which could handle higher bandwidth and so on. But in the first years, that was the kind of problem I faced, both in terms of increasing network traffic and also, I guess, while I was still doing other kinds of work, let's say freelance programming, well, when I found a particular task required more and more of my time, I had to write some software which would then automate that task in whole or in part. I guess you might consider that, as an arrow of some sort, but it was stuff of that nature. Again, I had made some commitments and was following through, but I was also making a living doing things other than Craigslist.
Okay, Sarah, thanks so much. I know you've got a scoot and you've got a hurl. You've got a hang out in real life coming up, right?
A- Absolutely. Thank you so much for letting me pop in. Craig, it was wonderful to meet you and hear about your work, and I'll see y'all later. Thanks again. Appreciate it, Dan.
Thanks. I appreciate it, and if you're at the NBC, say hi to Liz Lemon for me.
All right, we will do, sir.
All right.
Take care.
That's great. That's Sarah Hill from KOMU. And now let me bring Oleg in here. Oleg Moskalinsky is I guess a programmer. Oleg, I don't know how to describe you. Developer, programmer,
Yeah,
business
I'm a consultant, IT consultant developer.
in Kirkland, Washington.
First,
So go ahead, Oleg.
sorry. First, Craig, I wanted to thank you very much for enabling me to sell my kids' cribs and buying and selling things over the years. Incredibly helpful. So I want to thank you for that first. Very helpful. But the question I have for you, speaking of automation, one of my projects that I'm working on right now, and I've talked to some other people who have done it before, is that Craigslist has the read API, but they don't have write API. And so what I wanted to ask was why Craigslist doesn't adopt a special terms of service for businesses that qualify to enable them. It's right now what's happening is we have people going and posting entries on Craigslist manually. They take information and they either copy from some other source and paste it, or they enter it manually. But basically, there's this laborious manual process of getting some business information on Craigslist, which of course is incredibly both useful and at the same time very much looked at by a bunch of people. I put my car up for sale. I was amazed how many people immediately called about my car for sale. So no question, the service is tremendous and everybody knows it. So these businesses are trying to put some entries on Craigslist, and they're doing it manually. And I was just wondering what your thoughts are about enabling qualified businesses with potentially monetizing even Craigslist in that regard, to enable them to ease a little bit the process by letting them post this in an automated fashion.
Well, there's a bunch of questions built into that. The big one, which matters, is the issue of monetization. The overriding principle for everything is, what do people in the community tell us they want and need? And that's the kind of thing that drives us. And that's why the site is close to 100% free. Mm-hmm. There's nothing altruistic or noble about it. That's just what feels right. When it comes to additional APIs and so on, Again, we're driven by what people in the overall community say that they need and want. We have limited resources. The deal is where people tell us we should place our priorities are things like fighting spam, that kind of thing. Beyond that, I can try to get more specific answers from my team on that, but the overriding principle is always we're driven by what people in the community say they want and need.
Yeah.
When it comes to the tech stuff, for example, it's more important for us to keep the site fast than to provide function that maybe a small number of people say they want and need.
Mm-hmm. How many people, if you don't mind me asking, how many people now work at Craigslist? How big is the organization?
I think at this point we're a little more than 30 people, and I think that's divided between different forms of customer service and technology. For example, we have no one in sales or marketing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Let me. I know that Jeff had a question, and tell us where you are, and quick little couple sentence bio there, Jeff.
Okay. Well, I'm an ex IT worker. I'm basically retired. I used to live in San Francisco, actually kind of close to your headquarters at one point. I have actually two questions. One is just your take on this California and on the what they did with Amazon for the collecting of sales tax, and do you think that's the right way for the internet sales tax kind of model to go? If they don't have brick and mortar, should they still be charged sales tax to protect companies in the area? And what your just personal belief is on that? That's question number one, and I'll have another question afterwards.
Well, one at a time then.
Okay.
And this one, I just don't know. I heard a little bit about it today, but I really don't have an opinion. I do know the state of California has major budget problems,
Right.
and I am concerned that there's not enough money for schools and so on. That's one of the reasons I work with Donors Choose. But I really don't know this subject, haven't paid attention yet, but I have a feeling next time I do an Amazon purchase, I'll find out the hard way.
Yeah, I think it starts in September of this year. They're going to start collecting or something like that. And my second question is, how do you feel about the Occupy movement? As a grassroots organization, kind of came up and possibly got hijacked, didn't get hijacked, and how it affects maybe what you're doing. Your Craig Connects, and the idea of social change, but here's a different kind of model for it.
I do think the broad Occupy movement is a big deal. It's about ordinary people standing up for, what are fundamentally American values. Tactically, there are some problems. For example, people should remember that cops have a really hard, tough job, that if they're on public property, they should respect that. But overall, I think it's a big deal. My focus is different. I think that the whole reaction to the SOPA legislation involves, I think the sleeping giant of the internet community, particularly in the US, was roused from our collective slumber. The next step is to figure out how to keep them alive and to decide what to do with it. But that's going to take people who are smarter than me. When people who are smarter than me figure out what's next, then I'll pitch in, which is my general approach in a lot of areas. The deal is that while sometimes I may have a useful original thought, that's the exception.
No. Okay. Well, thank you. I'll let someone else ask a question here.
Okay, I'm going to go to Sreek in just a second. I got one question from someone who's watching the show. There's George Cozy, who's in the Netherlands, and his question, I'm guessing he's talking about corporations specifically, but his question is, does Mr. Newmark think that the maximizing profits mantra needs to be counterbalanced by something? If yes, what would that be?
Okay. I think that all individuals and companies need to make their own decisions, based on their own values. The business model for Craigslist is basically doing well by doing good, and I think that balance is a pretty good one. Prior to making Craigslist into a company, I decided that, what I heard in Sunday school and so on made sense. You got to know when enough is enough, hence the business model of doing well by doing good.
Okay. Sreek, did you have any questions for Craig?
Yeah, I have a few of them. I'll start with one. Hi, Craig. I'm Sreek Menon. I live in Springfield, New Jersey, which I believe is fairly close to where you were born, Morristown. I believe you work with the Sunlight Foundation, which I think is working on governmental transparency. A few questions on that. What are the challenges you're facing with that kind of work, when you try to introduce transparency within the government? What did you learn from that, and how do you see it progress from now on?
Well, there's a bunch of questions in that one question.
I know.
For people who haven't heard of Sunlight Foundation, it's an organization based in Washington, which is focused on governmental transparency and accountability. And Sunlight funds a network of sites which are basically dedicated to showing in government where the money comes from and where it goes. And the folks doing the actual work do a pretty good job of showing that, but there's a lot of challenges that remain. For example, a lot of government organizations have not done a really good job of keeping their data up to date and clean. So a lot of, even a lot of data formatting has to be done, which is time consuming and expensive. Beyond that, though, the Sunlight Network has done a pretty good job of showing a lot of the what role money plays in politics. For example, showing that a lot of people who took a lot of money from the health industry voted according to the interests of the health industry versus the interests of the American people. Lots more needs to be done. For example, Sunlight is still working on the problem that the U.S. Senate does not publish in any useful way campaign finance information, which sounds like something's being hidden. So that's a battle which is still ongoing. I'm hoping we're going to see a lot of progress during this election season. Sunlight is also playing a role regarding the disclosure of donors and money involved in super PACs. The idea is that super PAC donors are still finding a way to remain anonymous, including when they run ads, which may be deceptive, on TV stations. There's a lot of issues there. To be frank, the work that Stephen Colbert does with super PACs might be more effective, but I think I'll have to rely on that for the journalism experts to measure the effectiveness of one kind of journalism versus another.
Can I ask one more?
Sure, go ahead. Go
Sure.
ahead, Sreek, and then we'll go to Pam after that.
I know that you are involved with microfinance work in Palestinian territories. How is it helping the Palestinians, and what is the impact on them?
Can you repeat the last part of that?
What is the impact on them? How is it progressing, the microfinance initiative you have in...
Well, the deal here is this is microfinance in the Muhammad Yunus Grameen Bank kind of sense. The idea is that if you find small business people throughout the world, sometimes they just need what might seem like a small loan to help them get into and stay in business, and then maybe hire some other folks. One of the best things you can do for another human being is to create a job or two, and that's not bad. What I hear from the small number of loans that I've been involved with is they've been successful. People do in fact manage to keep a small business going, maybe hire some other folks. It's what I do as an individual doesn't have a big impact. It's helping small numbers of people, numbered in the tens at most, but sometimes that's the most an individual can do along those lines. Frankly, I'm working with the U.S., Israeli, and Palestinian governments to place the vocational schools in the West Bank on the internet. That's a longer term investment involving a lot more money. That may have more impact.
Thank you.
Okay, what we're going to do now, we'll go to Pam. And while Pam's asking a question or two, I'll check and see if we have any more comments or anything on the web. Pam? Pam, you're muted. Go ahead. There you go.
Hi, Craig. I really only have. Oh, can you hear me now?
You're good. Go ahead.
Yes? No? Okay. I really only had one question. I posted a question about Craigslist earlier this week and about how people liked it and what they would like to see different. And one of the things that became kind of a theme in the comments was that they, other than some scammers, they, it was generally okay, or so my question is there a mechanism on Craigslist to handle people who maybe scam other people and prevent them from continuing to post on Craigslist?
People should remember to flag suspect ads for review. And if they see someone persistently doing this kind of thing, send an email to abuse@craigslist.org with a few of the posting IDs or links to those ads. The deal is it's something we're very concerned with, and that's what people can do to help out. The flagging stuff is real important.
Okay, let me, Jeff Powers, I'm sure you have a question or two for Craig Newmark.
You have to unmute.
You're muted, Craig, or Jeff, I'm sorry. Nope, let me see, how do we, I think it's unmuted on your end on the top right, perhaps? Okay, well, if you want to play with that, let me go to Bruce Turner, and then we'll get Jeff. Oh, you got it now, Jeff? Okay, Bruce, you got a question or two for Craig Newmark about Craig Connects or Craigslist?
Yeah, I sure do. Craig, it's a real privilege to be able to speak with you. I work for a nonprofit healthcare organization, and one of the things that I've really enjoyed looking up and studying more about Craig's Connect since I first learned you were going to be on the show is, and you addressed it a little bit earlier when you used the word emotion, and I see a lot of passion in you for what you're doing. In Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, he talks a lot about getting the right people in the right seats on the bus. And I guess my question is mainly a leadership question. I mean, you've obviously have exerted great leadership in the building of Craigslist, and it's become a very successful venture. Now that you're into Craig's Connect, what are some of the things that you look for as a leader when you said you have about 30 or 35 people on your staff? What do you look for to attract people that are going to be able to share the same passion that you do, and how difficult is that in today's culture?
Well, I hate to disappoint you, but I don't think I'm a leader, and I haven't been involved in Craigslist management at all this millennium, because in the year 2000, people were kind enough to help me understand how much as a manager that I suck. I'd already hired Jim Buckmaster,
Right.
and he's the guy who runs things, who's really the only person who can answer the question that you posed. The only kind of leadership I can really try, even I can attempt to do, is just to get out and to do what feels like the right thing, and to help people, and then to do it more, and then to keep trying each and every day. Again, to repeat, I don't have any kind of management role in Craigslist at all. I'm a customer service rep, and I'm committed to doing customer service only as long as I live. After that, it's over.
Okay, thanks. I
That
appreciate
was a
it.
joke, by the way.
Bruce, did you have anything else? And then we'll.
No, just a comment. I mean, obviously, I think all of us have leadership qualities of some sort, and there are people who are passionate about what he's passionate about, and so there are some who follow. And I always staff to my weaknesses, and so even though I was in leadership position and still am in some cases, I realize that there are weaknesses that I have when it comes to management. It's always great to be able to staff to your weakness. So I appreciate and admire your leadership that I see. So I appreciate it. So thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Okay, let's go to Jeff Powers. Can we hear Jeff now? Jeffrey
I
Powers.
hope so.
All right, good. Go ahead. You got a question
All
or
right.
two for Craig?
First of all, Jeffrey Powers. I run a website called Geekazine over at geekazine.com. My question is more of a concern, and of course you've just mentioned that you're not in the management role, and which is understandable. So hopefully I'm not preaching to the wrong person here. But although you do customer service, and it does fall a little bit on that. My concern is more on today's Craigslist and how it affects the common poster like myself. I know you guys have to deal with things like spammers and trolls, and making sure that you don't get $1 million lawsuit off of somebody because they didn't sell their pen right or something like that. And I know you have to deal with that, but there's a lot of people that get kind of trampled on today's Craigslist, and I'm literally one of them. In fact, I don't normally post on Craigslist, and the reason why is simply this: in the last 5 posts that I've made, they've been flagged and removed for some little itty bitty deal. When I've gone into the help area to try and figure out why my posts have been flagged and removed, I've gotten not a very warm reception from some of the replies and posts, and I think that's because it's a somewhat open system, and you can actually have somebody come in and start saying, okay, I'm just going to start ripping you a new one because of the fact that I can. And in fact, I got into a pretty big flame war with one of the posters because I was simply asking why was this one removed. Now I know you like I said, you got to deal with the people that are coming in and trying to game the system and stuff like that. But for me, the person that actually takes the time, puts together a profile, confirms my identity, goes up and posts, and then really literally within 24 to 48 hours can't keep that post up. What is there any work in the process of doing that so people like myself can feel like you spend 10-15 minutes on a post that's just not going to get ripped down by somebody that has a vengeance to flag every other post?
That's a pretty broad question. It does take multiple people to actually remove something like that, and without seeing the specific ads and situation, there's no way we can really answer. The flagging mechanism is there to stop stuff like spam and so on. If you email the stuff to abuse@craigslist.org and maybe copy me, Craig@craigslist.org, I can share it with the team. But that's pretty broad. I think the area which you referred to, being subject to some argumentation, probably one of our discussion boards involved with that. And that consists of just anyone who chooses to participate and offer help. Again, I'd have to see the specific situation.
Yeah. So yeah, that's mostly the reason why I asked this question, was because if you get flagged, it says go to the discussion boards and find out why you got flagged, which would be great if it was the fact that I felt like I actually had somebody from Craigslist actually letting me know why it got flagged. But once again, you start getting somebody that's trolling the system, and you're airing out your laundry. Why does this work? The last thing you want is somebody to turn around and start swearing at you and tell you say that you don't know what the heck you're doing and blah blah blah, stuff like that.
Okay. Include in the email let's say a sample link or two to that kind of post.
Okay.
I'm getting ready to send it to Anthony, Craig, but I'm curious, how many emails do you get at Craig at Craigslist, and how do you filter that? How do you handle that?
I probably get several hundred per day. A large amount of them are spam, and fortunately, our spam software is getting smarter all the time. And beyond that, I just have to do continuous triage. Some things are spam, some things are customer service issues that I can help with. Some I have to forward to someone else. A lot of it has to do with philanthropy or something involving government service.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go, Anthony Klauser. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And did you have a question or two for Craig?
I'm from Rochester, New York. I guess my question would be, you said how Craigslist isn't really about, making a profit, but obviously you need to make some sort of money to keep, the lights on. What's the biggest way that Craigslist, makes the money to operate?
Okay. First, I have to clarify, no one of us has ever said that Craigslist is not about making a profit. The deal is that our business model is doing well by doing good. And primarily, it's job postings in a handful of cities. The site is close to 100% free, but we are a pretty effective job board.
Thank you.
I can make the answer more complicated, but I don't like to do that.
Okay, let's go. Did you have anything else, Anthony, or are you good? Okay. Jeff, you had another follow-up, I think?
It's more with Craig Connects, and you were talking about government agencies and something. Actually, I know you know where Brisbane is, I hope, right? Brisbane next.
I know where a couple of Brisbanes are.
Okay, well, Brisbane, California, which is right next to San Francisco, which is right between the airport and we're currently in a battle with the FAA about airplanes turning early. Would that be something I could kind of turn to Craig Connects and get some kind of cooperation or help in how to deal with the FAA to save our community from being barraged by planes every 2 minutes? Is that something that is up your bailiwick type thing?
Yeah, that issue is way out of my expertise and wheelhouse. However, to post something so at least we've heard of the subject,
okay,
so that we know it's an issue, please do that. For a moment I got confused. I just heard on NPR something about the issue of airport parks, but that's a whole different thing.
Right.
Yeah, but the idea is that, just because something is not in my normal concern area, maybe at least I should have heard of it at least once, so that's useful.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Are there any questions? Go ahead, Oleg.
Back to Jeffrey's question. So when you say you're in customer service, what exactly does that mean? In other words, if Jeffrey gets a question to you and you can see that he's totally legitimate, does that mean you reinstate his post? What's the actual customer service part involved? I mean, what does it entail?
It depends on the nature of the question. That one I would pass on to the mainline customer service team who would handle it. If it did include stuff like posting ideas or links to the ads, then I would ask for that first, because the team would need that information to respond.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And then in terms of one of the things, to also follow up with what Jeffrey said, I myself have been one time a victim of this kind of abuse, if you want to call it. You can call it whatever you want. That on some of these forums, they definitely get on your case for no reason. Some people do, and of course they have nothing to do with Craigslist in terms of being people employed by Craigslist. So have you considered it all? If you just read some of these posts, I'm sure you can see. I'm sure you probably have seen. Have you considered just having customer service reps that handle customer service issues, as opposed to be just anybody who writes anything because they can, that deal?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Do you mean having a whole bunch of people who would monitor the forums in that manner?
Not so much monitor forums, but actually a customer service rep handling a customer service request.
Oh, we do have that.
So why are we being asked then to go to the forums if one of our posts gets flagged, as opposed to be going to customer service?
Because we rely on our community to help out, particularly in most of the categories which are free.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, if you've been subject to abuse in those forums, I'd like to see a link specifically to some of that, which I could share with the main team.
Well, I think I did the same thing Jeffrey did, probably tons of people do. They just give up. I mean, they don't want to get into flame wars. They just basically, I mean, there's nothing that indicates to you that if you're not satisfied here, why don't you try customer service? So people just wind up throwing their hands up in the air and saying, okay, we get it for free, so we can't really ask for anything, and, that kind of approach. Anyway,
I just hear you.
Yeah.
That is, I'm going to throw it to Sariq. I think he has another question, but that is a problem. How to balance a free service, but you want to have customer service, but you can't, you can't spend so much money, and that's a lot of sites are battling that same issue. Sariq?
My question is about your tech background and the years you spent. I think you worked in IBM for like 17 years. What can you tell us about your work at IBM?
Well, it was a long time, 17 years. First 6 were at Boca Raton, working on a mini computer called the Series 1. If you've heard about it at all, that means you've been in the business too long. Then I spent 11 years in the field, basically acting as a technical consultant. 10 of those were in Detroit, focusing on working with GM. And most of those had to do with factory automation or imaging systems for workflow automation.
You still program?
No, I don't think I've coded at all this millennium.
And since you mentioned that you were working in image processing, etc., any particular technical background you were interested in? I mean, like in terms of platforms or at that time?
Back then, we were looking at specifically the OS2 platform, which is now regarded as historical in nature. Although about a week ago, I did see some articles talking about its anniversary and that it's actually still in use in some places. For me, I wish we would have embraced Unix.
Mm-hmm. And I believe you programmed the first 2 releases of Craigslist by yourself, right?
Pretty much so. A lot depends on how you count. However, in the second release, there was someone who was focusing on the billing aspects, and that's something I didn't have any background in, and nor do I have any background now.
Thank you.
One thing you've done really, really extremely well, besides reach and everyone on the planet, basically, you kept the site so clean and graphically, no graphics on it. It's really perfect it's a perfect little engine for what it does, and it's done well. And just kudos for keeping it that way, because it is very fast, efficient, and you get what you need and exactly what when you need it. You've done a great job.
Thanks. And I appreciate it. Are there more questions on the Craig Connects thing? That's the big deal that I'm pushing right now.
What you've been doing this for a year with Craig Connects, and do you find what's the state of like nonprofits? Because I did a radio show today and I interviewed the area agency on aging, and they're having financial issues, and a lot of them are. And there's only so much money to go around, and when you're in a tight economy, although it's showing signs of improvement, how healthy are these organizations? I mean, you see some that are frankly going out of business. I mean, is that kind of one of the things that motivated you?
You're right about the issue. Right now, there's a lot of good, effective, usually small nonprofits are starved of cash. The reasons have to do with the economy. The reasons also have to do with a lot of news regarding nonprofits, which are not using cash very effectively. In some cases, too much of it is going to pay salaries and not reaching the client populations they're supposed to serve. That's a real problem. The only solutions people are suggesting are to suggest that people look at the kind of nonprofits I mentioned before, nonprofits which evaluate the effectiveness and financial effectiveness of those nonprofits. For example, what Charity Navigator and GuideStar do in large part are to figure out how much money actually reaches client populations. Because if 2/3 of the cash contributions to a nonprofit or more just go to paying salaries or so-called awareness building, that may not be the kind of nonprofit you want to send money to.
The ones you've seen, I mean, are most legit? You know, the ones that are sort of scams where 2% goes to actual need and 98% goes to admin and salaries and stuff. Are we getting better at that, at weeding these things out, or are people still falling victim to scams and giving money not really for needy, but they think they are and they feel good about it, but it's just a scam?
I don't have the expertise to speak very broadly about the whole nonprofit industry. I've seen mostly good, effective nonprofits which get the job done, but along in there, I have seen a bunch of nonprofits who talk about building awareness and who have a really good story to tell, but they don't really seem to have any effective results. That smells pretty bad to me.
It's I guess it's old as as old as time. This issue. People mean well, and they want to help, but I think we're getting better at it. I hope. Sreek, you had a question?
Yeah, I have a quick question. One of the traditional problems with charity groups which you see online is whether they are trustworthy. I'm not saying I do a lot of charity work, but if I have to, I see sites which say, okay, finance this kid, he doesn't have money to study, etc. But the biggest problem what I've seen is, how do we really ensure that the money you pour into it actually reaches the person who is at the end, the end user?
Well, most of us don't have the time or knowledge to individually vet a specific charity. We rely on the rating services I mentioned, like Charity Navigator or GuideStar, because that's the job that they perform. In a way, they're still learning how to do a great deal of it. And I guess the IRS is helping. They're now requiring nonprofits, more of them, to file so-called Form 990s. So the idea is that these agencies, Charity Navigator and GuideStar, help us do that. They're still researching a number of areas, specifically how do you measure the financial effectiveness and overall effectiveness of a nonprofit. But it's all very much still a work in progress. I'm just happy that someone's doing it and beginning to get the job done.
Does Craig's Connect vet these organizations you mentioned? And do you actually, is it possible to connect to them? Or, as I said, if you promote them through Craig's Connect, is it going to work well?
I don't think I understand the question. Are you asking about the nonprofits which
Yes.
directly help clients or the rating nonprofits?
The nonprofits you mentioned, do you promote them through Craig's Connect?
Oh, I do, yes.
Okay.
The idea is that I mention them specifically. Now and then I'll help them with social media. Sometimes I'll make cash contributions. But the idea is that when I find a nonprofit which gets a job done, then I talk about it and try to help out.
So whichever organization you connect to through Craig Connects, are you saying that, okay, these are vetted, these are good?
I do recommend them in that sense, yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Real quick, Craig, do you have time for 2 more Craig Connects questions? Okay.
Sure.
Jeffrey has one, and then Bruce, I think.
All right. First of all, I don't know if you know about this website. A friend of mine actually down in Austin works for snowball.com, SNOBALL.com, which helps nonprofit organizations and really good website. Like I said, if you've never heard of it, it's a good one to check out because it helps people figure out how to donate to nonprofits. But my question is actually, because you mentioned the fact that what you did at IBM, I do a show called Day in Tech History, which is a full rundown of tech history on a daily basis. I've been thinking about taking that show and actually turning it not into a nonprofit per se, but or not into getting the actual nonprofit status, but actually getting it into a more community basis. I've in the last couple of years, I've always asked for, if somebody wants to throw a donation to Day in Tech History that they can. But my question for this is, how would something like Craig Connects help the nonprofit that's just trying to put together something that's very helpful to everybody out there?
That's not really in our wheelhouse, and it requires specific nonprofit and legal knowledge because you want to get it done right, because you have to follow the law, and you certainly don't want to get the IRS on your case. What I've done, because I'm not knowledgeable, is make use of something called community initiatives here in San Francisco. They're the experts, and they know California law and federal law.
Okay, and last question from Bruce.
Yeah, I'm just really enjoying even looking over the website again this evening. I love the tagline, using technology to give the voiceless a real voice and the powerless real power. And when I hover over issues, I see these great issues that you're dealing with, a very, very important one, military families, back to basics journalism, public diplomacy, and such like that. One of the things that really grieves me is the incredible division that we still seem to face in our nation, and there are many different people on both the right and the left who have different agendas and stuff like that. How do you remain unbiased and objective in what I think is a tremendous vision that you have and mission? How do you resist the pressure of various political groups or people with an agenda to co-opt your mission? How do you remain centrist and unbiased? Or perhaps you don't sense any of that kind of pressure?
Yeah, actually, I don't feel very much of that pressure because people see what Craig Connects is about. Mm-hmm. The focus is on issues which are nonpartisan. Even as I get into voter protection, basically what I'm dealing is just sticking with the facts and not going along with anyone's agenda. Mm-hmm. I do, have a political bias that I don't act on very much because I can do better things for the country by not moving with them. Mm-hmm. But I'm what I call libertarian moderate or libertarian pragmatist.
Okay.
And that's pretty much the sweet spot for the internet industry. Ron Paul is a much more traditional kind of libertarian. I'm again, I modify my beliefs based on what I see happening in real life. And often people need a break, need a hand, and that motivates me in a very big way.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Craig, thank you very much for taking time this evening on a Friday night. I know there's probably a few more things you could be doing on a Friday night than hanging out with us and talking about this stuff, but it was fantastic. We learned a lot, and we wish you so much luck on this this new site. It is craigconnects.org, and it's a beautiful site. It's much more graphic than Craigslist, but it's great. And any final thoughts?
I have as few thoughts as possible. I appreciate your time and just do encourage everyone to stand up for what they believe in, using whatever works for them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. You do great work, and we really appreciate you taking the time to share that with us today.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks.
Okay, that is Craig Newmark from Craigslist and craigconnects.org. It was great having him on, and we really appreciate it. So please check out the site and give us, put some good comments about what you think. It was a great interview, guys. I appreciate all y'all participating in that. And then I guess we got some other stuff to talk about. I think the big news was the. I don't know if we want to go to Jeff or just kind of do a random conversation. We got the Google the glasses. There was a link to a post from Jason in Guam, Jason Salas, and some other stuff. So who wants to start off? Jeff or Sariq or who?
I've seen the Google glasses. I think it'll be very. I haven't. I mean, obviously, would love to try to see what it looks like and put them on and do that. But that augmented reality is coming, and it's going to be funny. There's a nice little post in the stream about Windows does the glasses and it keeps on saying cannot attach to the device. Hey, you want to do this? You can't empty the tray. All this stuff keeps on going up. I'm sure the Google glasses are going to be a little bit more better than that. It'll be interesting.
I saw when I was at the Consumer Electronics Show, I saw 2 or 3 different models of something very similar. At the Verizon booth, there was a company that actually had a full Android system on your head. In fact, Jeff Chardonnay, who's on Google Plus, his profile picture shows that device that he's wearing. It's very kind of top heavy. I mean, it's not like a full computer heavy, but it's still heavy enough to really be noticeable. I'd like to see what Google Glasses has to offer in its alternative, but it's still a question of whether it's going to be useful or not. It's a nice toy, but is it a nice toy for now or 5 years down the road?
Yeah, they'll ban it from driving.
Did you see Jimmy Kimmel's take on Google's Project Glass goggles? It's an interesting picture of him with what looks like 2 older Nokia candy bar phones duct taped to a pair of glasses, and it's interesting.
I think somebody did a picture on that a while ago, just like that. They took 2 old camera phones and put them on the sides of their glasses or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, it's funny.
You know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for the Google tablet. That's what I want to see. That's my big thing. I mean, more than the glasses. That didn't mean to, change subjects, but that's going to be more of a big deal than the Google glasses, coming up.
Now, is that going to be a Samsung product or an Asus product?
It's going to be an Asus product.
Asus.
Yeah.
It's Asus.
All right.
And I guess Google has delayed it by a month. That way they can get it from around $250 down to $200.
Yeah, I thought it was supposed to be $149 or something like that was the target number.
I've heard prices ranging from $149 to $250. $250 was the first number. Then they delayed it by a month to bring it down to $200. And then I heard rumors that Google would further subsidize the price of it.
Now, is this going to be a 7-inch tablet or a 10-inch tablet?
It's supposed to be a 7-inch tablet.
As long as it has a front-facing camera, I'm in.
Well, this sounds very much like the one that Asus released or talked about at CES this last time, having a Tegra 3 chip in it and a 7-inch tablet, and the price that was talked about then was $250. So I'm not sure if it's going to be the same, model like that with the Tegra 3 chip, which is a quad-core chip, or not. But
as you know, the longer you wait to put something out, at the same specs, the cheaper it becomes, and that just it's exponentially cheaper, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Are we still talking about the glasses, the new one?
No, we switched it. I regrettably I switched it to the tablet,
right?
Google tablet. So, but you can talk about the glasses.
I was just thinking for people who wear glasses already, like Jeff, Bruce, me, is it going to be an add-on? I mean, I'm just speculating. It is going to be. If you look at the picture from Sergey, you see that it's actually hooked onto the frame. And a little whatever over here,
like a quartz lens in front, a little bit, yeah.
And then another thing is, I'm just making a wild guess here. It is probably going to be hooked with your Android phone because if you want to make phone calls with it using probably Bluetooth technology. I remember asking Yanathan Sungar a question about how do you interface with it? Is it like, if it's touch, you can't do touch when it's something is over here, right? I mean, and you're watching it.
I thought it's supposed to, when you look at something, it's supposed to like navigation would show like a point of interest or something,
right?
In your field of vision type thing.
But you still have to give it commands, also receive data from it, right? Yeah. So, for example, if you're watching something, you still have to say, or is it a voice interface? You know what I'm saying? So there are a lot of things which is not very clear about it. Also, today on I don't know which website was it. Somebody mentioned that it is not as great as they show it in the ad yet. In the ad, it's very seamless, right? Somebody just getting out, finding whatever they want, just walking over. So, I mean, whether it will be a very commercially viable product when they first release it. The question is, should I jump in and buy one when it's released?
The answer should be no.
Well,
I think I'm excited about it.
How does
Pam.
it?
I was just going to say about then Pam Sreek's note. That's the first thing I thought. I mean, for those of us who wear glasses sometimes, are we going to be able to integrate the features or get prescription Google glasses? But Pam, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, how does it connect? Are you using your data plan? Is it going to interfere with you driving? People already walk around texting and not interacting with people in public. I mean, it doesn't seem to me to be something that I would be overly excited about other people getting, because I mean, it's already hard enough driving home from work,
Yeah.
That's just, you know what I mean? I don't know enough about it, I guess, to make a real honest opinion. But are we going to have to have a 2-year contract with Verizon for our Google glasses?
It is. It is definitely going to need some kind of data connectivity. And yes, if it is going to use, I mean, I don't know, near field technology, or you have to sign up for an extra data plan for that. I don't really know. But which Dan asked, if you can hook it onto your specs, if you're onto your glasses, then it will be good. And for what Pam said, I don't think they're going to advise you to wear it during driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sreek, I think it's is it a Bluetooth thing?
It could be. We don't know yet what kind of communication it's going to have with the driving device. I don't think it is. It is probably a display technology, right? It may not have. If you want to use the phone with it, there's some way it should communicate with your phone, probably in your pocket, right?
Yeah, I saw in the news there was you could order a pizza with a refrigerator magnet. You just it's Bluetooth, and I guess you set it up. You like pepperoni, or cheese, whatever, and all you have to do is literally go up to the refrigerator magnet, you touch it, and it orders you a pizza. They deliver it, and you'll get like a text confirmation to make sure or whatever. But that's, I mean, it's mind-boggling. Is these different devices that communicate with your Android device or your tablet or whatever. I think it's fascinating, and now I'm craving pizza. But, that's most of the time.
Wait till they try to use the Google glasses to say, okay, we're gonna have a little movie display in your dominant eye or something like that.
While you're driving, while you're texting,
while you're driving, exactly.
Beer in between your legs,
There you go.
Crazy, Bruce.
Yeah, I'm looking at a Wired.com article about this that came out today, and they were talking and linking this to what a company called Recon does. They have a heads-up display on snowboarding goggles, and the whole idea of this is just having whatever it is that's being projected in one's peripheral vision. So obviously, when you consider driving, I mean, peripheral vision is critically important. when you're driving, especially if you're riding a motorcycle. I mean, you've got to be able to, see what's happening out in the periphery, because that's what could soon come into play and create some real issues. When I'm kayaking down a river in Florida, peripheral vision lets me see the alligator that just jumped off the bank on the right, and is heading my direction. So it could be really distracting in certain situations and circumstances. But if there's not safety issues like when you're driving, I can see where it could be quite interesting.
It'd be even worse if the alligator had the Google glasses and saw you were coming and knew exactly what your size and weight was.
That town that had the texting sidewalks for a few days, they would have to have a sidewalk for Google glasses. People wearing Google glasses.
I'm getting a visual of Bruce in a kayak with an alligator and the potential for a very viral video. But I wonder if the glasses will periodically take video of where you're actually walking and show it to you, so you won't. So you'll actually kind of introduce it into your stream. So, like, by the way, you're about to hit this pole, like that funny video that came out.
At the end of the day, you could sync it up to your phone, and it would create a movie, and the title of that movie would be "What You Missed Today."
It could call you and tell you you're about to hit the pole.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. They're always innovating, and this is great. So I guess.
Well,
go ahead.
I guess it'll be okay if you're in one of their cars that drive itself. You could probably wear the glasses, So that'll probably have a little exemption for that. But otherwise, I'm sure the glasses will not be used while driving.
It's an amazing technology. These guys are so innovative, and these are all, these are, I guess, smaller projects that they're working on, and they have this vision, and they keep it under wraps, for a long time. But okay, we got a couple more topics, but I think it's more stuff that Alan and Prisoner will want to weigh in on. Alan had I think they all had family things, I guess, because it's Easter time, so it's coming up Sunday. So, it's kind of tough. But I don't know, did you guys have, you want to do like a round robin and roll it out? And any
Well, we were actually talking just when you were a little way there a second. We're talking about the Google tablet coming up, and we're wondering, what if you know anything on the price point and when it might be released or anything like that.
I was reading. I forget what I heard. That I guess they're delaying it, and they're trying to get the price down because Amazon, of course, is a game changer. But Bruce Turner bought a Kindle Fire, and you were using it more to consume content rather than use it as a general purpose Android device, because you ended up, I'm assuming, because you ended up returning it because the darn thing was just so heavy to curl up in bed with it to read a book or something. You just got a regular, lightweight Kindle. Do you regret that, or was that the way to go? What are your thoughts, having had both?
No, I mean, for me, if I would like to have an Asus Transformer Prime. That would be a great tablet to have, or maybe this new Asus 7-inch Google product that's going to be coming out pretty soon. But the dilemma that I had was I was able to do and had already gotten used to doing a lot on my smartphone, which happens to be an iOS device, as far as Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and so forth. So just having a Kindle Fire with some of its limitations, i.e. no camera for Skyping and Google Hangouts and stuff like that, I found myself, wanting to do Facebook or Twitter and say, oh, okay, do I do it on my phone or do I do it on my Kindle Fire? I'm used to doing it on the phone. I'm quicker doing it on the phone. And so I thought, the Kindle Touch made more sense to me. And one of the things we've really enjoyed is my wife and I are actually reading together. For some reason, she's enjoying having me read to her. So we almost every evening for about 30 minutes, and we decide which book. We've read 3 books together now like that. And so I like the focus and the centricity of just an e-reader. At least that's working good for me right now.
We got a comment from George Cozy. The glasses could be an aid in driving. It could highlight road signs, speed limits, police cars, etc. That's a good point. It also brings up the point about how archaic our road system is now. It's 2012, and you still have to look to see pay attention to find the speed limit signs. Your car doesn't I mean, why doesn't your car beep at you and tell you you're speeding so you know? If you know, sometimes you'll miss a sign or something, and then there's the speed trap guy, and you get this ticket. When the goal is to have safer driving, and so the technology is out there, and I'm glad to see Google is innovating along these lines. Sariq, any final thoughts here on this Google Plus week pre-Easter?
I was just, yeah, sure. I was just wondering whether any one of us actually tried any new cool Hangout apps. Other than, of course, I mean, I saw Alan's caption made it to the unofficial Hangout.
Hangout.com.
There's a website. I forgot the name of the website. They kind of publish all the new Hangout apps out there, and I saw a caption in there. I was really happy. And then, did you guys try out anything new?
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry. I've actually tried the poker one, and I thought that was a little bit buggy. I tried the comment one here and during this hangout, and I couldn't get the post to come into the comment tracker for some reason. I don't know why.
Even after putting the correct link.
Yeah, I did a copy from Dan's on-air link. I copied the link and I put in the click on the post, get the link, copy the link address, and put it into the URL, right?
Right, with that little green box icon, right?
Yes.
Yeah, in the comment tracker app. Yeah, for me, it didn't work. I don't know why.
So it was pretty much amazing to listen to Craig Newmark. It was a great opportunity to talk to him. And yes, it was a great Google Plus week. One of the classics.
Pam, any final thoughts?
Catwoman?
No, actually, I'm pretty quiet today. I really don't have any thoughts at all.
Pam was taking a cat nap.
Sorry.
Of sorts. Jeff?
Just as a follow-up to the Amazon thing, I did pony up for Amazon Prime. I'll let you know if I like it. We'll see if I even watch any of the content that's on there. But excited about the 2-day free shipping. I'm
excited. I want to try it myself. I'm a Netflix user, and I like it, but I've been thinking about getting that, and I've heard I guess there's different content on each, and there's a lot of crossover content, I'm guessing.
I have it too. I have it as well. I recently subscribed. The cost it comes for is pretty cheap, I would say, and then the free shipping is a real plus. If you are a real regular shopper on Amazon, and the free shipping actually covers for the cost you pay pretty easily. I would say that the free videos and whatever else free that comes with Amazon Prime is actually a bonus. I have Netflix too, so I use both.
I think it's odd that they would have bundled a Netflix-type streaming service with a free shipping service. Don't those seem strange bedfellows?
But hey,
it works.
It made sense to me. So yeah, that's why I decided to just do it.
I mean, it's like, a rental car company, and you also get free pizza or something. It just seems odd. But any final thoughts, Bruce? I guess you'll be busy Sunday with Easter.
Actually, my 11-year-old granddaughter and I are doing a 13-hour road trip tomorrow, driving to Melbourne, Florida, and just so happens that her spring break coincides with my week of business at our home office, and so she's going to spend the week with her other set of grandparents, and we're looking forward to doing a mobile Google Hangout. I have really enjoyed Hangouts this week. I love the collaboration that I've enjoyed with Jeff and some other folks on a Hangout. We hang out called Tech and Coffee. And just great discussion like today about microphones and mixers and all kinds of things. So Hangouts has just really been a real great addition to my life.
Imagine if the Google Glasses, you could do a Hangout, and you could just 24 hours a day at any time, and we could just pop in and invade your space. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah, but then you'd have to write a script that would click that box that says, "Are you there?"
Dan, I did a hangout. I did a hangout in jury room, in the jury assembly room, waiting for my jury duty.
Oh, I thought you meant during the. I was like, we're breaking. The police are going to come and shackle you.
It It was
Bruce,
perfect.
Bruce, the tech and coffee hangout you do, is that during daytime mostly?
Oh yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
daytime, weekends. It's going on right now.
Right.
Um,
I see you guys hanging out, but I can't join from work,
yeah.
Oh, it's great though. We have a great time.
Yeah.
If it's mostly about tech and less coffee, yeah, it's fun for me.
Sometimes it gets on some other things, politics. Somebody was asking this morning, why do they call it Good Friday when it seems like such a bad thing that happened on that day? So anything can come up. So
Okay, Anthony, beaming in from Wegmans. He's got the cans gone still from your filing cabinet. Any final thoughts this week? Did you have a good week?
Yeah, I had a good week. Last week I had my tooth pulled. That was not so great. So anything is better this week.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks to everyone who participated tonight. It was great to get so many folks in, and especially as we approach Easter. So thanks again to Craig Newmark, who was great, and hopefully we'll get him for follow up as in the time to come as his new site craigconnects.org gets even better and more active. So it was great to hear from him on so many different issues, and even provide some tech support for some folks here. But see, he's always on the clock, right? Anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching tonight. We appreciate it, and I hope you all have a wonderful Google Plus week.